In a world where most people have never flown, the ride to the 67th floor is incredibly exciting. And the view from the top takes your breath away.
By the arrival of Deco at the end of the 20s, the New York skyline had already given the city a unique identity. New York's architects were so proud of their achievement that they even wore it on occasion.
One of the most extraordinary things about the transformation of New York, all of these Deco buildings, is that they happen within a couple of years of each other. It happened really fast, and it gave Midtown a skyline. So there's the Chrysler building across catty corner from where we're standing on 42nd and Lexington. Gigantic new thing, but then right over here on the other side is the Channon building. And these are the Deco skyscrapers that made that image happen. Transformed New York, which had been a Victorian city, into a modern metropolis.
The early modernists in their white-walled studios in Europe talked about creating machines for living in. But those machines were neither particularly durable or comfortable. These buildings, on the other hand, are both monuments to the precision-tooled, machine-made object and are supremely comfortable to walk around. In 1930s New York, metalwork is transformed from being merely ornamental into a beautiful but functional element of the building itself. These buildings were built 70 years ago, but they still function beautifully.
They're part of a vast Midtown building complex called Rockefeller Center.
We're standing in one of the most extraordinary public parts of New York. It's freezing cold, and yet there are people skating, there are people standing and watching the skaters, there are people going back and forth everywhere. It's just this sort of hub of activity. It was built by the Rockefellers, really by David Rockefeller Jr., who was really a philanthropist. It began as a philanthropic venture for something else, and then it turned into an office building development. But that sense of the philanthropy, I think, shows up in the large public space, in the fact that the Rockefeller Center doesn't close itself off to the city, it opens itself up to the city. In fact, if you start walking in from Fifth Avenue, you'll find your feet going slightly faster as you go because there's a slope underneath that's there intentionally, I think, to pull you in to the center. It's all about bringing people in. This functions as New York's public square, and it's private, which tells us something about New York.
Private property became public entertainment in the rest of the city too.
In New York, we have traditionally celebrated the theatrical element of ordinary life, so that walking down the street, even if we have no particular place to go, we can enjoy shop windows, and the window goes beyond just an aperture in a building. It becomes like a proscenium arch in a theater or the edge of a movie screen, and we look into the great store windows in New York, and it's as if we're participating in some great movie or some great play.
Rockefeller Center was not the only privately funded Art Deco masterpiece to welcome in the public. In this democratic city, even the grandest hotels were and remain open to all.
Public space in New York is very important. It's a very public city, and yet we don't have great town squares and civic plazas like they do in Europe. So here in New York, in such a wonderful hotel as this, you see that the lobby really in many ways resembles a town square more than it does a foyer or a front hall. You can enter it from all sides. People can mingle and meet each other. You don't need to be staying here. You don't need to be a wealthy person. And anyone can come to this beautiful, glamorous Art Deco hotel, and for the price of a cup of coffee, they can buy into that vision, they can enjoy that beauty. And so in that sense, Art Deco architecture was able to step up to the plate and have an impact on many people's lives that perhaps it wouldn't have been if it had been relegated only to private interiors.
By the beginning of the 30s, Art Deco was deeply embedded in the fabric of New York City life.
Sooner or later, the world will catch up. The new Saab 9-3 Aero.
Imagine a pure and serene world, now recreated with a new fragrance of innocence from Ambipure. Transform your home with a real perfume of innocence from Ambipure.
When a mouth ulcer pops up, Bongella's triple action helps kill germs, reduces swelling and relieves pain. Don't put up with it, Bongella it.
Some people go to amazing lengths to get their hands on a bit of extra money, but it's really not that difficult. Just call 0845 900 1000 and take out an unsecured personal loan from Marbles. You can borrow between £1,000 and £25,000, and our typical APR is a fantastically low 7.8%. And it's dead easy to arrange. Just call us to sort out a loan straight away, or you could apply online. Then, if everything's okay, the money could be in your bank within days. So pretty much whatever you need money for, look no further. Just use your Marbles. For an unsecured personal loan, call now on 0845 900 1000 or log on to marblesloans.com.
Dispatch managers, they're the synchronized people. They know an early morning delivery is guaranteed. They can track their packages like air traffic controllers. They can tell you precisely when customs are cleared. Even predict what's arriving next morning. And when. Dispatch managers, synchronized people. UPS, synchronized shipping.
What do you do if you love your partner, but you hate their taste in decoration? I'm going to show a young couple how they can live together harmoniously.
If they would do this on their own, it would just end in a complete disaster.
And Maurice returns with a brand new one-off special, House Doctor Designed for Living, Thursday at 8 on 5.
New York's brand new Art Deco skyscrapers welcomed the public in 24 hours a day, which did very well for New York's business. Art Deco was a bigger money machine here than it was in Europe.
The people who rode the elevator to the top every day could afford the latest in office interiors, which work as well now as they did then. These offices, which were originally used by John D. Rockefeller and his staff, are still in use and have the original furniture.
The designers took the exotic woods and glossy finishes of the French luxury deco tradition and applied them to furniture for daily use by busy working people.
This kind of Art Deco interior, pared down with its built-in storage and sliding doors, was easy to use and functional, but also beautiful to look at.
America, unlike Europe, was proud of the industries that built its wealth and advertised those industries and their products on the buildings themselves.
The man who paid for this building was the head of the Chrysler Car Corporation. Although his factory was thousands of miles away in Detroit, Michigan, it was here in New York that he needed to boost his company's image. And the first thing he did was to build the building taller than the Eiffel Tower in Paris, thus making it briefly the tallest building in the world. And it does seem to literally disappear into the sky. Inside, Chrysler had the lobby ceiling decorated with a painting that's full of pride in masculine toil and industry. The symbolism of French Art Deco was explicitly feminine. Here in New York, it's as ruggedly masculine as you can get.
They painted the building on the ceiling too, and its shapes are echoed everywhere. Already, it was becoming, in effect, its own brand.
The Chrysler Building was Walter Chrysler's personal dream project, and so the building had to be an adequate reflection of his dream, and because of that, it had to be a spectacular building, not only on the exterior, but also on the interior. And the interior is one of the most extraordinary spaces of the late 1920s in New York. You come into this space through very low revolving doors, and then the space bursts open in different directions. The walls are faced in a red marble from North Africa, and it was chosen because it resembled red velvet. And there was the idea that the richness of velvet would be appropriate to this lobby. And the red walls contrast with the yellow travertine floor, with the fact that there's highlighting in a shiny silver nickel chromium steel called Nerusta, and the fact that the lighting is Nerusta panels reflecting off of Mexican onyx, so that you get the feeling that the light is coming through the stone, from inside the stone.
But the Chrysler Building, like the China and Rockefeller Center, was there not just to display wealth, but to earn it.
Although lavishly designed, the lobby is really a utilitarian space. And because hundreds, if not thousands of people would be using this lobby every day, it was very, very important that the lobby be arranged in such a way to get you there to your elevator bank in an efficient manner. You can follow the patterns of the floor, and they'll take you directly to your elevator bank.
Beyond the public lobby, most skyscrapers are plain and functional. The Chrysler extended the luxury to its elevators because originally they transported the city's elite to a rooftop cocktail bar.
The elevators at the Chrysler Building are surely among the most beautiful that have ever been made for an office building. They reflect William Van Allen's interest in French Art Deco design. Here, he uses the exotic woods in a very French way, but he combines them with the industrially made metalwork, juxtaposing the craft tradition of France with the new industrial power of America. The elevators are also filled with exotic woods, and like on the elevator doors, they contrast with the machine-made metal, which you can see in particular in this elevator in the lamp hanging from the ceiling with a shape that might even be compared to the shape of a hubcap on a Chrysler automobile's tire.
Thanks to tireless maintenance and its revolutionary new metal cladding, the Chrysler spire from the start was a beacon, a giant advertisement for the company, visible far out to sea. It's no accident that car makers paid for the two tallest buildings on the skyline, this and later the Empire State. The American car industry embraced Art Deco with enthusiasm. By the mid-1920s, America's car production lines were growing at record speed, but markets were near to saturation. When every American had a car, what would happen to the industry? They decided to introduce fashion into car buying.
Gentlemen, a new Dodge Brothers motor car is ready for you. It marks the culmination of months of planning, research, and testing on the part of the engineering, manufacturing, and sales departments.
It's got that good old Dodge dependability, plus everything that the public want today.
Fred, you're proud of this car, aren't you?
You're damn right I am.
Early on, automobile companies discovered that appearance, that style, attracted people to buy automobiles. It wasn't enough to say that the engine was reliable, that it got good gas mileage. People said, well, a lot of cars give good gas mileage, but this one is beautiful. This one makes me look beautiful when I sit in it. And so, increasingly, how a car looked influenced sales.
These cars were the American equivalent of Rolls-Royces, but where they led, the production line would soon follow.
As automobile companies discovered that styling helped sell cars, they began incorporating a lot of trim items. For example, this chrome-plated windshield pillar here. It doesn't have to be chrome-plated, but it looks nice. These sweeping lines on the bonnet on the grille of this car are just as functional without the chrome trim, but they look more beautiful with the chrome trim. Early cars were painted in enamel. In about 1910, Ford discovered that black enamel dried faster than colored enamels, and so that's why black became the dominant color. In the mid-1920s, DuPont invented nitrocellulose lacquer, which dried quickly, so you're no longer limited to just black. This car over here, an Auburn Boat-Tail Speedster, exemplifies the kind of colors that nitrocellulose lacquer allowed you to do. You were a catnip to ladies if you had this kind of car.
And the ladies themselves were getting into cars in a major way. not just as passengers but as customers. New York's women were starting to earn serious money. Not all of them could afford a new car, but a glamorous night out was different.
New York's Art Deco architecture was masculine in spirit, but many of its interiors were designed to appeal to a new class of independent-moneyed women.
The Rainbow Room on top of Rockefeller Center was one of the first nightclubs designed especially for its female customers.
They were all out to have a great time, even in the teeth of a depression.
This was the first generation of women who had the money, the independence, and the leisure to go out by themselves at night, and that had a lot of men worried. You know, how do you distinguish amongst all these women? You know, which ones are the bohemian but still respectable as opposed to, you know, the not so nice person? So they wanted someplace that was safe enough so that they wouldn't lose their reputation, but naughty enough so that they could have fun. Ellen Mackey, who is a prominent New York City socialite, talks about why she goes out in 1925. And she says, you know, I don't care that I'm dancing next to that Irish politician who's flirting with the little blonde. You know, I come with my own friends and I leave with my own friends. Of course, a year later, she eloped with Irving Berlin, giving a little bit of a lie to that. But the clubs could be incredibly democratic. One columnist talks about the Central Park Casino, how it's equal quantities Park Avenue, Hollywood Boulevard, and 7th Avenue in the Garment District.
Art Deco nightclubs, no less than offices, used new materials and technologies to maximize their impact.
The Rainbow Room here makes use of all sorts of different types of materials. You have glass in various forms, such as the clear glass of the chandeliers or the frosted glass of the staircase there. I think one of the great things is the different types of lights, so that you have these kind of bizarre but still recognizable chandeliers with the concealed lighting of the ceiling that creates different color effects. And then you also have the use of mirrors here, which capture people, total strangers, dancing together and bring them into one space and create constantly shifting perceptions of that space. It's almost quite cinematic in its effect. The revolving floor, first of all, would make them slightly dizzy and disoriented so that when they got off, they could be anywhere in the room. And it actually does take you a moment or so to get your bearings together. And of course, fueled by alcohol and the like, it could lead to some very interesting interactions.
America had another, even more powerful industry that rocketed up the glamour of Deco club life and spread it around the world.
In many ways, the Art Deco style, both as an architectural vocabulary and as a element of design in a wider sense, and the movies were the perfect marriage. They really were a perfect partner, like Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. And the reason that they went together so well is that underlying both of them is a desire to dream. They are about escape to a large extent. Now, obviously, they have other elements as well, but at their core, going to the movies, particularly during the Depression, during an economic downturn, was an opportunity to go into another world. So the movie sets look at real-life places, such as the set in the Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers movie in Swing Time actually mimics, in certain regards, the real Rainbow Room here in New York on the top of Rockefeller Center. And seen the other way, architects go to the movies, and they're inspired by the wonderful set designers of Hollywood. And so life is imitating art, and art is imitating life. The Art Deco style lent itself very well to machine mass production. And what that meant was that it could work effectively at the widest imaginable variety of scales. So if I saw a wonderful actor or actress in a movie take out this elegant cigarette case and light up, and it all seemed so glamorous, I could go to the store and I could buy myself an Art Deco cigarette case, and it was an easy thing to do. So whether it was the tallest building in the world, the Empire State Building, completed in 1931, or whether it was a small object that I could go purchase for a modest price, we all could buy into the look, the fantasy, this notion of glamour as something that's actually very accessible, can be enjoyed by all of us.
This is the Art Deco style that everybody recognizes today, that American production designers and movie directors invented and sold to the world. But reality, of course, is never quite like the movies, and by the time this building opened, the Depression had hit and the glory years were gone. When the Empire State Building opened in 1931, paid for by another car company, General Motors, it was 60 meters taller than the Chrysler Building and had twice as much office space. It had no false modesty about its place in civilization, described at the time as the 8th wonder of the world. New York State's official nickname is the Empire State, but the name also spoke a truth about the city as an emerging empire, its power spread not by armies, but by movies, advertising, and technology. Unlike the other Art Deco masterpieces of New York, it explicitly honored not only the technologies that made it work, but the people who'd put it there. This is as far from the European world of Art Deco for the pampered few as it could be. But the building could never fill its offices. It was built too late, the tide was turning, and it was nicknamed the Empty State. No matter, the unmistakable skyline of the transformed city had already crowned it the world capital of glamour. And a new passion for speed would soon carry the Art Deco message to a world prepared to believe that anything was possible.
And so, believe it or not, you've actually seen what hasn't yet happened, but someday may.
The story of Art Deco comes to Britain next Sunday at the later time of 4:15. Next on 5, one last chance to win a place in the sun in the final of Dream Holiday Home.